All right, there we go. There,
Good evening.
Let's turn this all the way down for you. All right. Can you hear us, Rich?
I can hear you just fine.
Excellent. All right, there we go. What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about heat and water.
Hot water heaters?
No, water heaters. The red thing behind you is a hot water heater.
That is, yes, correct.
The gold thing is a water heater. The red thing is a hot water heater.
Because it's already hot water, it makes it hotter.
Yeah, it's boiling it.
Although, if water's coming in at 70 degrees, is that warm or is that cold?
You dive in, it's cold.
Yeah, okay. So then you're going to, when you take it up to 120, then it's hot.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Well, you can join us on Facebook.
No reason to heat hot water.
You can join us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Periscope Live right now, brought to you in part by Mr. Floor and Mr. Floor Cleaning Products. And wherever you're watching, make sure you click on the like button that's down over in here somewhere. And you can click on the subscribe. Yeah, over here, right in there. And then also there's like a little bell next to it. Make sure you click on that bell also, because then that will let you know when we hit the air and we're going live or we're posting something new. So podcast of previous shows, if you missed it, the live broadcast is available at mightyhouse.net, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and on homeimprovementusa.com. Find links to all of them at mightyhouse.net. And if somebody wanted to sign up for the newsletter, Rich, how do they do that?
Go to mightyhouse.net, click on the Contact Us page. All we're looking for is your first and last name, your email address. Scroll on down and click on Boom Done.
Boom Done, just like that.
It's really that easy.
It is. It is really that easy. And are you ready there, Fuzzy? Because we have somebody new that hasn't been around like in months.
Seems like.
Yeah. Who can you show us? There she is.
Hi, Robbie.
Glasses on. So
How was Florida?
It was warm.
It was warm.
It was warm, and we encountered some things we hadn't encountered before, including a rattlesnake.
Ooh.
Well, actually,
So
I
you had
didn't
dinner.
encounter. That's what people said, Ron
Yeah.
Cowgill. So one of my cousins who's lived there his whole life, he says it's been 40 years since he's seen a rattlesnake in Florida. And Don saw a huge one. And I saved a turtle by carrying it across the road.
Yeah, Ian does that too.
Yeah.
We're riding motorcycles 70 miles an hour down the road. All of a sudden, stops. He gets up. What? Wow, you're just knocking stuff over. And he stops the motorcycle right in the middle of the road, picks up the turtles. And
You
puts them
have
up.
to.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
And we saw an alligator, and so I think we hit the trifecta.
Excellent.
No manatees or dolphins?
We did see dolphins, and we heard manatees, but we didn't see them.
The sea cows were talking.
Yeah, because that's exactly what they sound like. They sound more like a seahorse.
Okay.
And then we run and we get the fresh water from the hose, and we put it down there, but because they'll drink fresh water.
Oh.
But they had already passed, so we didn't get them.
Got it.
How are you guys?
Good. So we're talking water heaters today, Rich. Is that it?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And just basically, I think we ought to start just what's inside of this little thing right here. We ought to talk about that. Just what are the parts of a water heater that it's going to be pretty consistent throughout the whole thing. Where'd you go? There you are.
I'm behind the graphic.
Okay, so basically, I don't have my pointy button. Oh, there we go. So we've got a gas water heater right here, an electric water heater. That's the gas one, correct? So, and these are probably what you're going to see in, would you say, 80% of the homes around in the country?
Oh, yeah.
So it's fairly obvious. So you've got your cold water inlet, your hot water's coming out. You can see that there through the tubes. It comes down into the water heater. This one's got the gas line right there. This one, the electric one, has the two electric heaters. So those are the elements that heat the water. And then again, on the electric one, there is no vent like here because it's electric.
Because it doesn't make fumes.
It doesn't. It's just got this little cord that plugs in. But they both have this pressure relief valve too. It's pressure relief. If it boils too far, it can then relieve that pressure and let the water out and depressurize.
Yes.
So
yes, hopefully not blow up your house.
Yes, you don't want to blow up your house. That's not a good thing. And So depending on what part of the country you're in, you may have a gas or propane and or an electric water heater. So and we'll get into all the different parts of it. And next up is the anode rod, which I've got some. That's what Robbie's been knocking over here. See,
How dare
So
he?
the purpose of an anode rod is it's a sacrificial piece of metal so that the water heater doesn't get attacked by the metals or hard substances in your water.
Correct.
It's designed to eat the anode rod.
Yes. So that the anode rod is a sacrificial rod so that way this rots out versus your water tank. Now, when this goes away, that makes your water heater go away a lot faster. Yes, Robbie.
Did you guys have a lot of dumb jokes while I was gone?
Why?
Because you said it's a sacrificial rod.
Sure.
And, I'm thinking Illinois rod. Not going there.
Oh, he's out now anyway.
Yeah, he's done.
We're done.
We're done. Move on. So we've got a aluminum one, which is probably the standard one you're going to get in most water heaters, but
Why?
because it's the cheapest.
There you go.
But
And then the other one is?
this one is magnesium, and a magnesium anode rod is better than the aluminum, and it depends on the type of water you have. But generally speaking, the magnesium is going to last longer and do a better job of
Sacrificing Right. Got a 4-foot rod and a 2-foot ceiling height.
Yeah, so that's when you get the nunchucks, and you have this one, so that way it comes in segments, and you can now drop this down in there, and then it threads in the bottom
How often do I want to replace my anode rod?
every time that it goes bad. But I would say,
How do you know when it's bad?
Thank you.
I mean, really? Every time it goes bad. It's in a big water heater, right?
right? Well, show
How
us-
do I know?
I don't have an anode rod checking window in my water heater.
No, we don't. And see, there's something they ought to do. So now you would take this out, and it would show us the next one there, Fuzzy. So there's your old anode rod. You can see how it's sacrificing itself. It's rusting, basically. It's rotting away. And there's your brand new one. Show us
Okay, but
another
the
one.
stuff that breaks off the old one, is that what's sitting in the bottom of my tank going
Yes.
crackly pop?
Yeah, doing the snap, crackle, pop when it turns on, and you hear it sounds like it's just boiling and gurgling. That's what's going on.
Right.
So you can see this one's really been bad. And over
Definitely
time,
on its last leg.
yeah. So after a couple of years, you could take this out and not even see anything there. Yes, Robbie?
So without opening up, there's no way to know.
No, you'd have to take that rod. Yeah, every once in a while, every year, every 2 years when you're servicing your water heater, like nobody does,
Right.
you would test it and check it.
That's what I was wondering. Does it last 6 months? Does it last a year? What's a good time to check it?
It could last 5 years. It depends on the type of water you have, ultimately. So, but you've got the different rods here. If you can go with the magnesium, put the magnesium rod in, and but this is probably this aluminum one's what you'll probably find in your water heater. And if you don't have the headroom, you can use these. And they do have these at the big box stores, but you have to ask for them because most of the kids there probably wouldn't know what to do.
Wouldn't know.
No. So yeah, obviously, if you don't have a plumbing supply house close by that you can hit up,
Right.
this is the way to do it. So, and then the other important part is there's a dip tube in here. So where the cold water comes in, that dip tube, then you can see how it pushes the water to the bottom, so that cold water is now going to the bottom, and then it's heating up, and it's rising up, and then it's going out.
Right.
The hot water. So if all of a sudden your water heater doesn't seem like it's heating water
well.
or for a very long time, what's wrong with that, Rich? What's going on?
You're short circuiting. You're just the cold water's coming in at the top of the tank, going
Right.
directly over to the outlet on the hot water side. So you're not getting heated water properly.
Right, because this dip
Now,
tube
here's a question.
is
that dip tube is almost the same length as an anode rod.
Yes.
So if I couldn't get the anode rod in, how do I get that in?
I don't.
What if-
now you're stuck, dude. I can't help you there. You're gonna have to use a piece of garden hose or something. I don't know.
Just saying.
Yeah. So now you got to.
We don't have a flexible dip tube, huh?
No. So now you'd have to take it all apart, drain it, lay it on its side, put in your new dip tube, and then
Tip it anyway, right?
Yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what happens is you say, well, I just turned on the hot water and my shower's already cold. I didn't go through 40 gallons of water, but that's because this plastic dip tube here is rotted away and gone. And so then, like Rich said, the water comes in the top here and just goes right over to the hot water and goes back out. And you have all this nice warm hot water in the tank that never gets used.
That's what I was going to ask is if you don't have a rod, does your dip tube become the rod?
Probably not because
No.
it's plastic.
No.
So
Okay.
it's actually, the anode rod is trying to keep the metals from being eaten.
Right, and there was a period of time where a lot of them, the plastic didn't last very long because of the heat, so they were breaking down. And when you would, just open up to drain the tank out and flush it, you'd see all this plastic chunks coming out because that dip tube was gone. So,
Yeah.
so it's another thing that you can check and at least now you know what the parts are.
Yeah, just make sure you know if your local hardware store's open and don't start this at 7 o'clock at night.
No, or on a Sunday. You don't do this on a Sunday. So, all right, and the last. So there is your dip tube. Look at that. See how pretty that is? Mm-hmm. It just slides right in there. What? You got another shot? One more? Nope. Okay. So now, basically, you have a bunch of different heating sources. Again, two common
Right.
ones are the electric and the gas.
Right.
And so there's.
Which I think everybody's familiar with, but with changes to the energy codes, we're not using standard electric or gas very much at all anymore.
Right.
A
So
lot of places won't allow it.
correct. And this would just be your standard regular water heater. They're what, $300-400. They're not very efficient, but they do the job. They heat the water. So there's the gas burners right there, and then the flue. It goes up and then it goes out. In this case, over on the electric side, you've got a 220 service going to it, and you have your two heating elements right there, right next to Rich's.
But the electric, I think, is still more efficient than the gas, to be honest. But depending on where you live, if your electric rates are high, it's no good. No
Correct.
bueno.
Correct.
But then the gas-fired ones are probably only 70% efficient. So 30% of your money goes up the flue.
Right. Yeah, the gas temperature is what, I think it could be like 300 degrees going out there because that's just all wasted heat going out through there. That's why they don't
Right.
like using them anymore. So next up is Tankless.
Is, drum roll. Oh, let me move out of the way.
Yeah. See, I liked this install. It was amazing. I was looking for pictures of tankless water heaters. Half of everything I found just had flex tubes. They did not have it all
Piping?
piped in like this and nice and
Yeah.
clean installation. So,
So that's typically all I use on our houses, propane fired,
okay.
tankless water heaters. And I always see a third pipe there. We always do the recirc pumps.
Okay.
And then most all of the water heaters that have them built in, we program them for morning and evening. So like 6 to 8 in the morning and then 5 to 10 at night. So you always have hot water at your sink instantly.
Right. And especially if you have a larger home where it's a long run from the water heater, those
Right.
recirculating lines really make a big difference. The other thing you can see right next to Rich's shoulder and right here next to mine are these expansion tanks. That's yeah, there you go, right there, those.
I have to get so far out of the way to get to that.
Yeah,
There it
now,
is.
what are those on there for?
Because the guy said you had to. We don't put them on all of them, but what the expansion tank is for is to reduce hammering, and if you have an overpressured system, it's to eliminate some of that pressure.
Right, because as you heat water, obviously it expands. And
Right.
if you have if you're on a well with a check valve that doesn't allow that water to expand and go back into the well, or you're on a city system that has a check valve at the meter and doesn't allow that water to backflow back through the meter, as that water expands, it has nowhere to expand, and now you're getting into an overpressurization problem, and you could be tripping this right there, that pressure relief valve then could be going off because it's building up too much pressure. So what this tank does is absorb that extra pressure that's building up in the water, in the hot water lines that are in the pipes themselves.
See, we don't have pressure because we have Uponor. It gets hot, it expands probably.
Oh, the plastic just
It's not like
up.
copper.
Yeah, copper or galvanized pipe that are solid.
Right. But no, I mean, those things are really great. But I do want to give people, when you go to search for a tankless water heater, they are kind of real popular now.
Yep.
Watch where you have to install it. Make sure you've got the space for it. Make sure you can get the venting out sidewall very well.
Correct.
And then also look at your flow rates. So every water heater is going to have a chart, and it's going to tell you if you have to raise the temperature of the water 40 degrees, you might only get 4 gallons per minute.
Yes.
But if you're going to raise it 15 degrees, then you can get 9 gallons per minute.
Yes.
So make sure you look at those charts to check your flow rates so that you size the water heater properly.
Yeah, and some of them will just have how many fixtures you can run with it. You know, it'll say that you can just do one shower or a shower and a sink, something like that. So, and that's probably why you've got dueling units here too, is, you know, the size of this home, there were too many bathrooms for it to be able to handle the entire everything at once.
That does not appear from the photograph that those two are interconnected.
No.
Because most water heaters like that, you can actually connect them in series. One becomes your preheater, the other is your heater.
Right.
So when you're talking about trying to raise the water only 20 degrees and I get 6 gallons per minute, I can raise it 20 degrees in the first tank.
Yep.
Or in the first heater, another 20 degrees in the second, and I can maintain 7 gallons per minute.
Correct.
Which then I can do on a large shower with body sprays or fill a tub.
Right.
So again, there's ways to make it work.
Right, and right now, like in the northern climates, the water coming in from the city, it could be 35, 40 degrees right now. So now you're asking that water heater to heat the water from 35 or 40 degrees to 120. The only way it can do that is to restrict the water flow. So
Right.
in these tankless systems like this. So that's why you may need a tempering tank, or you can use dual units like what Rich is talking about here.
So that's why, and I think that's where we're heading next. Go ahead to your next one.
The heat pump.
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty cool, and I would think you guys are using these a lot down there.
We do that, and your next one, the hybrid, the the condensating type.
Correct.
But we'll wait to get to those. But no, we do use these, and it's sort of funny because everybody's garage is 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So if you put that out in the garage, while it runs, it actually takes the heat out of the garage and cools the garage.
So this is like an air conditioner, basically, that's sitting on top of a water heater. And like you said, and this is all electric, right? So there's no gas.
Yeah. Right.
So you can put this out
So
in
it's
the
just
garage.
pulling the heat out of the air,
Right.
heating your water, and expelling cold air.
Which now you're air conditioning your garage.
But it's only when it's running.
Correct. Correct. So it depends, I guess so in the morning you'd be cooling off your garage pretty good. And then, it depends on when you shower.
Right.
So, but that's it, especially like in Florida or in their southern climates where you have a warm garage all the time, or even outside. If it was outside sitting alongside, it could
And
pull the heat.
some places put them outside.
Really? Yeah, I know.
With a little shed roof over them.
Yep. And so now that just pulls the heat right out of the air. It's a very efficient way to do it. You sneaking
Yes.
in there, Robbie? Yeah.
Didn't mean to. I was just relaxing.
So you've got that one, and that one is called the heat pump water heater, and very common. I don't know that I necessarily use it if you're in the northern climates. You may not get away with it, but anywhere south of Tennessee, I think you're going to be more than fine with it. Condensing water heaters. So this one, the high efficiency condensing water heaters.
And we do a lot of those in the 80 gallon range.
Okay. And you're using propane. This, you can see this one right here. It's got the gas burners or the propane burners right there. And so you can get this in a tank system like this or in a tankless. The condensing units, they come both ways. But the one unique thing about them is they all have the little drain there for the condensation to be able to drain. So that you need a drain for that water to go down. And what's happening is now the exhaust gases, like the previous one we were showing, you had 300-degree gases going out that main flue pipe. Now that flue pipe is all those coils. So it's got to pass all the way through all of that before it goes out. And it's also pulling in cold air from outside. So that's a sealed combustion system that's heating it. And because of the way it coils out, the exhaust coils out, it's using all that extra heat then to heat that water.
Right. So, and we've had a couple people that know stuff about water heaters that write essays on them.
Yes.
It kind of made it clear that in a lot of senses, if you're in a cold climate and if you would need 2 tankless water heaters to make your house work,
Yep.
that would be far less expensive and more effective to use
One of
a
these.
condensating heat like that.
Yes, Robbie.
Oh, wait. Oh, there we go.
Waiting for your shot.
Yeah. Just make sure
You're
you guys
on.
are out of my. Who is your audience for this?
Who is our audience for this?
Yes.
I would say the average homeowner. Why?
Because it's just a little.
Too technical?
I'm just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Good.
you
That's
know?
why you're here.
I want to know things
That's-
like, and forgive me if I miss this, but I want to know why I can turn on my hot water and sometimes it takes forever, but if I have a tankless one, it's immediately right there. See, that's what a homeowner would want to know, not all this diagrams and
okay,
stuff.
that's a great question. So what you would need to do is put a recirculating pump on your system.
I'm lost. What's a recirculating?
It's a pump. It's a pump that just pushes the water through all the pipes. So you can actually buy a thermal bypass, and you would go to the farthest fixture from your water heater, and you connect it to the hot and cold. And then you have a pump that pumps hot water through the system, and it'll actually come back through the cold water side, go back to the water heater, and then you would have hot water faster.
Yes.
But most high-end water heaters, particularly the tank type, the Renais, and they have built-in recirc pumps. So we always set those up for that.
Right. And the other option is you can run a separate pipe from the furthest point back to your water heater. So now you're using just the hot
That's
water.
the preferred technique, not the thermal bypass. But if it's an older home,
and you can't
that
get
might
up-
be your only choice.
Yeah, if you can't get into it, then that's the
Right.
only other option. But if you've got a basement or crawl space, you can go to the farthest end, farthest part away. You throw a T in
Cut
there.
in a
and
T and
run it
loop it
back.
right back to the water heater, put a pump on that, and put a timer, and boom, done.
So now that water heater, that hot water is there right now when you want it.
Yep.
So,
Are you losing efficiency with that
Of
as
course.
well, just for it being on all the time?
oh yeah, no, you're losing heat. You're heating the house. So during the winter, it's maybe not that big of a deal. But if it's during the summer, you've got the AC running, and then you're got this warm water. I mean, you can insulate the pipes, and that will help some,
Right.
and insulate the return lines too.
And again, that's why you always have the timer on them. So, you can change the timer settings based on when you get up. I mean, if you get up at 5:30 and you're out the door at 6:30, you can have the recirc pump come in at 20 after 5 and
Yep.
shut off at 6.
Yep.
So for that 40 minutes, it's recirculating. But if you don't use the recirc, as soon as you turn it on, whatever water is in that pipe, you have to drain that out to get hot water, right? So you're still wasting gallons of water
Yep.
waiting for the hot water. So
Yes.
this actually does save water, but might burn a little more energy. But how you set your timer is what's important.
Yes, Rob.
We have a question on Facebook.
Well, then axe it.
Little Charlie wants to know what are good water heaters for areas that get tornadoes, and why would it make a difference? Is my question.
What-
Anything that can be bolted down.
So it doesn't make a difference where you live.
I don't think so.
No, not regarding
Now, I mean,
tornadoes. I mean, tornado, you get 15, 20 seconds warning. I mean, and that's the last thing on your mind. Save the water heater.
right? Yeah, I mean, if you don't want an electric one because it's not going to, if the power's out, you're not going to be able to use it. If it's a natural gas or propane one, that would work as long as it didn't have a power vent unit. But I mean that's some severe planning.
Right.
You would just want a basic water heater because if the power
Well, and
goes
we
out-
have hurricanes, so the rule for our water heaters is all mechanicals must be above base flood. So if my base flood is 8 foot, I got to have them at 9. One base flood plus 1.
So that's why all them they're stacked on the walls, and there's like
Yes.
a shelf outside, and everything's sitting up on top of it. The generator's
Yep.
up there, the water heaters are up there,
Yep.
all that stuff. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and we mount our water heaters outside.
yes.
You know,
That's what-
we
yeah.
don't have freezing, so don't do that in Illinois and
No.
whatnot, but yes.
You had another question, Robbie?
No, it just
You
went
waved.
on me, so I was waving.
Oh. You were waving to yourself? Is that what you were doing?
Sorry.
She's new at this.
She's
Fuzzy.
been gone a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the novelty's worn off on us, but she just getting back into it.
She's used to Saturday mornings, is what it is. Wednesday
Yeah.
nights, not so much, right?
Yeah.
No, and
Right.
I'm very pleased that you have a little fuzzy Robbie camera.
This is
See?
me or the guest.
Right.
I
guess.
like
we
it.
Had,
Yep.
we had Mr. Smith on there yesterday or last week.
Yes. He went to
Yes,
Washington.
we're expanding and we're getting smoother.
Yeah, I don't know about that part.
And for those who
Right.
have noticed the matching T-shirts,
Yes.
I outgrew
Polos.
mine.
Huh?
I outgrew mine.
Oh.
I must have been like 12 or something when I started with you guys.
Yeah.
And I've outgrown my shirt.
So we'll have to get you a new one.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
I did wear red though.
Yeah, you
fit.
did. Just so that you fit. Okay, perfect. So condensating water pumps, we've talked about that. That's how these work. Very efficient way to go. If it's, what would you say? That's another 25, 30% more to go with their higher efficiency?
Well, I mean, like that particular one could be $900 to $1,100.
Right. So,
But the tankless water heaters aren't free.
oh no, those are even
So-
more expensive.
Like 1600 for
Yeah.
a really good one with the recirc pump. So if you're looking where you need two of them, you're at $3,000. You're better off with one of those than an 80-gallon version.
And now this doesn't vent out with the furnace out the chimney anymore. This is going to have its own separate venting. If you go back to the tankless one, keep going back one more. You can see. Well, too far, right there. See the you have these. These are vented out. You can vent out the sidewall in stainless steel, or in this case, these are PVC. But that tells you how cool the air is going out now. That it's actually PVC, and it's not going to overheat it or melt that. So the same thing with your high efficiency water heaters. They can be vented out in PVC, and you can bring in that fresh air through the same system.
Yeah, you're not using combustion air from the house, so you're not negatively pressuring the house and so on.
Right.
It's a good thing.
Is it because it's a smaller space that you're heating? You don't need as much ventilation to come through, smaller flame, smaller pipe.
Oh no, the
And
BTUs of these are way more than a tank.
Oh,
system.
really?
Yeah. These
Yeah,
are-
they're 199,000 BTUs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say 200.
But they're efficient.
Yes. Yeah. So the other thing is, if you have a tankless one, you may not want to, and you have kids or teenagers, you may not want to do that.
Yeah.
'Cause if you have a system like this, there's no reason to get out of the shower.
No.
You could just stay in there for a week. You'll never get cold water. So
Right.
take that into consideration, depending on the family and the age of the people in the family, or if they just like taking showers. You know,
Right.
that could be it too. Yes, Robbie.
I am just, it doesn't have to be a teenager.
It could
Just saying.
It could be a guy
Just
named
saying.
Don. Is that what you're saying?
Oh gosh, no, he's like a 5-second shower. I mean, the soap doesn't even drip down, it's just like out. Me.
Solar power. Now, you would think that this would be more popular in the southern states and Florida, but this whole system's really just going
Too many
away.
parts.
Yeah, it's too much maintenance. You can buy a high efficiency water heater, any of the other ones we've been talking about, and I think if you took the money that it takes to do this and bought solar PV, generating electricity, you'd be
Right.
much better off spending your money, because now, let's say this system costs, let's just call it $20,000 to put this whole system in to heat this. Once you've got this tank full and you're done, all that money's sitting on the roof doing nothing. It's not producing anything. So
Right.
if you were to take that same investment and put it into PV, if you're really thinking solar, so you're going to do and generate electricity, you put that up there, it's generating electricity all day long, whether you're using it or not, because it's going to charge batteries in the house, and then after that, it's going to spin your meter backwards, and now you're storing it.
PV?
Yeah, photovoltaic panels, electrical, generating electricity. So if you're thinking solar, you may want to take a different route. What about?
The other problem I think a lot of us have with solar is, yes, we have the sun and all that, but it don't look good on your roof.
Oh, come on.
Please.
You don't like it? So
No.
just to go over, so you have the panels here. You can see cold water comes in the bottom, the heat, it rises, it goes up to the collector on the top, comes down through here, it goes through the heat exchanger. So this is now heating, and this is a separate loop system. So now it goes through this heat exchanger. So the water that's going through your solar panels is not the water that you're cooking
drinking
and
Right.
showering with. It goes through a heat exchanger, and so it's exchanging the heat with this system, and that's what's heating the water in your tank, and that's what you're using. Now, can you take the water from your tank, go through the panels, and come back down? Yes, you can, but you have some issues with doing
Impurities and contamination and
Correct.
things like that. So it's a closed loop system.
Yes. Robbie's looking at me very confused.
Yeah, so there's water running through the panels
Yes.
that's heating the water in the water heater.
Yes. But it's not the water.
It's not heating the water in the water
Well,
heater. It's heating
So also the
heater.
water in the
Yes.
pipes in the panels, it's not really water. It's usually like some kind of fancy science stuff with, glycol alcohol or whatever
Right.
that
It,
transfers heat faster, heats up faster, whatever.
yeah, and it's food safe glycol. So
Yeah.
so that's how that system works. I would highly recommend into looking to something else. Now, if you had a laundromat or something that's using hot water all day long, great system to install. You'll definitely get your money back on it.
And you live in Arizona or Florida.
There you go. Well, even up here, even in the northern climates, as long as you've got a good sunny day, you'll generate a good amount of heat with it. So you might need more panels.
What do you do the other 340 days?
I'm just saying.
I know.
All right, what do we got
All right.
next there, Fuzzy? See, now, there, look at that. See, you've got your tank, these nice big panels. Wouldn't that look great on your roof, Rich?
No.
Yes. See, now that heats it up, it goes through the tanks, and it's perfect. It's perfect. That's a great system. I like the next one better, though, Fuzzy. Now, come on.
There you go.
How can you beat that? Couple of
Well, we
black
built
barrels.
that before. That's a pool heater.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that for your pool? Just take the pipe out of the pump, run black tubing on top of your fence all the way around, let the sun heat it up on the fence and in the black black pipe, and then just dump it back in the pool.
Yep.
I've seen it done painted with aluminum cans too.
Oh, yeah.
Those long aluminum cans and all that jazz.
Yep.
But you're saying just bite the bullet, get solar power.
Yes,
And have
electricity.
that solar power drive the system.
Drive the whole
Yeah,
house.
make up.
Gotcha.
Because if you're going to spend 20 grand on a solar, thermal system, once you heat 40 gallons of water, you're done. And so
The
now
money's just sitting there
yeah.
until you do dishes or take another shower. The money's just sitting still.
Right, you got 20 grand on your roof going, okay, I'm here, this is beautiful. It's not making you any money. It's not serving you well, that 20 grand. If you had it generating electricity, it's generated electricity all day long. And it's working
Right.
all day long. There's no moving parts to it. There's nothing really to service and check. You just got to go, check the bolts, make sure everything's bolted down. But there's no moving mechanical parts that you have to really worry about. It just produces electricity.
Or leaks.
Yeah, well, yeah, the thermal stuff will leak, right. Yeah, that's it. So,
All right, you bash solar water enough.
yes, okay. Am I done with that? So,
Yes.
I also wanted to talk a little bit more, and I wish we had our old, what would you call that? That 30-second spot we used to run, where Robbie was worried about getting electrocuted. So
I knew this was going to come up. I just knew it. I was scared for the longest time.
yeah, but now we can explain it to you.
No, you already explained it really good.
Yeah, what's that?
Is your water heater electric or gas?
Wait, you have a gas water heater.
And then Rich said, well, then you don't have to worry.
That's right.
Because people were dying in their basements. People
Still
would
are.
come home, still are, and find their spouse dead on the floor, or whoever,
Uh-huh.
dead on the floor, and they would think it was a heart attack, but it was really because they touched their hot water heater.
Yes.
And so I was terrified that this was going to happen. And then
you
there's this product that you can buy and put on it.
Sure.
Yeah. And then Rich cut me down to size. Bam!
That's just because yours is gas.
Because mine's gas. That's all it took. Here's this gas.
All right. So Ron, talk about grounding.
Well, we electric first. It has to be like Robbie said. It has to be an electric water heater. So you can see these elements that come in here. These are running 220 volts through those, and those are immersed in the water. So go to the next shot there, Fuzzy. See, so now these are the heating elements that are in the water heater. What happens when that tube cracks? Or because the heating element is inside of that tube.
So the heating element is not actually in contact with the water. It's inside those tubes.
Correct. Heating those tubes that are then heating the water. But if you get a crack in that, the water then can seep in there, and now your water is electrified.
And,
Right.
and by heating element, you mean toaster coils.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. They
Yes.
are toaster coils in your water heater. So now...
So
Go ahead,
and there's
Rich.
two ways those break. One is age. If
Yep.
they're just that old, they can break, wear out. But the other one is if you're installing a new water heater and you turn the power on before you fill the tank,
Yep.
you can crack that in 2 seconds.
Yep. So a brand new water heater can go bad or be a potential risk.
Become dangerous.
Yes. Simply because you turned these on before there was water in there.
Do
So-
we know enough not to do that? Who's telling us not to do that?
Just Bob. And now
Are there
Rich is-
instructions? Do the instructions say don't turn it on until
Nope.
you fill?
Nope.
You're kidding.
No. Well, who reads? When's the last time you installed a water heater and read the directions, Rich?
Never.
You take them, you go, oh yeah. You don't. Nobody reads the directions.
Well, especially electric water heater.
It's easy.
You got two pipes tonight and a
Yeah.
cord to plug in.
See, you connect the hot, the cold. You plug it in. You're done. Boom, done. Walk off. Turn on the water and go.
If you read the instructions, would it be in the instructions?
Maybe, I don't know. I never install electric water heaters, so I honestly.
I have, but I don't remember reading the instructions. I just made sure it was full before I turned it on.
Yes. Fill it up. Make sure you've got water flowing through that. So you turn on the cold water inlet, you go to the nearest faucet, you turn on the hot water, and you let that air out, let it flow until you've got good water flowing out of your faucet, and then you can turn the faucet off and fire this up. Meaning, not light it, but turn it on so that the electricity goes to it.
How does a house know? How does a homeowner know? Is there a choice you can make between electric or gas water heater?
Sure.
Everybody has that choice, but how come people choose gas then?
Because it's cheaper to run overall.
Then why have electric?
And it also heats the water
Because
faster.
like we don't have any gas available to us here.
Yeah, like for where he lives, and if you live out in the country somewhere, you may not have access to gas or want to have the big propane tank in.
Well, and propane's a couple of bucks a gallon, so it gets expensive.
And you have to have it delivered all the time. Electricity's already there. So this is, even though it's this could be a high recovery water heater, the gas is going to heat it faster and have that recovery and have that ready for use again way faster than any electric can. So
Yes.
there's convenience for it and then the overall cost of operation throughout the life cycle. So that's why people would use gas if they've got natural gas or propane available.
So we've had this discussion, especially with Bob, who was a listener from the radio show days. The grounding wire on my water heater only goes to a thin metal cover plate
Right there.
on the top of the water heater.
Next one there, Fuzzy. Other direction. Keep going. There you go. So you have this little cover plate with a ground screw right there, and that's generally where it stops.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right. So here's
But
what
That looks more like bonding than
Yes. So now what you want to do is you run a bare wire from that ground up to the water pipe, and from this side you jump her to the other side. And now you're going to bond all that together, so if there's any difference in potential of electric, it's going to pick this up. And there's more that we're doing, but this is going to bond it and hopefully trip the breaker if there is any leakage into the water system. And now
wait.
Yeah.
Is that only if you have a GFI breaker?
Yeah, which is what we're going to get to. Now,
I know that, but I just wanted to clarify that because I could go out in my garage right now, add that wire, and it's not going to do it. It's not going to trip the breaker.
It's a piece of the puzzle that of making your water heater safe. This is a piece of the puzzle. And now
So you need to get it bonded like that.
Right.
Get everything together.
And now if you have a gas water heater, you want to just run this from this side to the other side and over to the gas line. And the building inspectors are now making us put this bonding wire from the gas pipe to both hot and cold water. Obviously, it doesn't have this ground plug because it's gas, so we don't have to worry about hitting that ground terminal there. But
Right.
we still do it with gas.
Why?
Yes.
Why do it with gas?
Because you could still have a potential for the copper pipe or the water to be carrying some kind of electricity and it jumping it across. And by doing this, you're still tying it all together so that way, if there's any difference in electrical potential in any one of those items, it's evening it out.
Sorry.
And
Because you don't want to come up and grab that and then you're the fastest ground. Is because you're standing
So,
there, your bare feet on.
Robbie, one of the weird things about when you have a fireplace, like with a standing pilot or a gas burner, when you burn gas, it creates static electricity or electrical charge. There's fireplaces with standing pilot light that you just take a wire from the gas valve over to the wall, you put a switch, and it'll run milliamps through that, and you can hit that light switch, and it'll turn the gas valve on.
Yep.
So it's generated by that pilot light just through the thermocouple. Well, the same kind of theory holds there. If it's only in milliamps, very small amperage, but if you have a pacemaker, it can definitely mess you up. If you were touching one and grounded, it would pass through you. It could shut off your pacemaker.
so as far as this,
That's why bonding is important.
as far as the electric one, is this something new that we're learning?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, because what Bob said is people would go by, they would brush into the water heater, or they would grab something and bump into it, not realize it. It wouldn't. The shock wouldn't be strong enough to burn anybody or leave electrical burns on their body, but it is strong enough that it would knock your heart out, but you'd take 3 or 4 steps and then you're done. You're on the ground. And coroners were just thinking people were having heart attacks, when in fact it was not. And this could happen to anybody, any age. It's not just, someone with a pacemaker.
Who installs a water heater?
The plumber.
Okay, do plumbers know this?
Some do, some don't. And that's what Bob was out there talking to us about. What was that, about a year ago he came out with this?
Yep.
And there are now bulletins on this. So hopefully plumbers
Yeah, the
know.
Consumer Product Safety Council actually has issued a bulletin regarding this now.
So
And that's Bob working on it.
that's right. Because Bob's out there hustling, trying to get people to learn more about it. Go to the next shot there. So there you go. That's just some wire, bare wire. And there are the clamps. That go,
Those are clamp things.
those are the pipe clamps that go on the pipes. And then
Okay.
the wire goes right in that little terminal right there.
That was good.
Yeah, wasn't it? I'm getting good at this. See?
Practice.
Yeah.
One
That's
is
right there.
Jed and one is Ellie Mae.
Is that what it is? Judd? Put a Judd clamp
Jed
on?
and clamp it and Ellie Mae.
There you go.
Welcome back.
You put a jet on it. There you go. All right, so that's just your basic clamping kit. You would need one more of those if you had a gas, because you would put one of those on the gas pipe also, and then run that wire from there. And it has to run continuous through the whole thing. And
Yes.
you don't want to clamp it between the pipe and the clamp. You want to make sure you're using that terminal right there to secure it.
Yes.
So that way it's nice and tight.
Because you have potentials for electrolysis because of different types of metals.
Right, and because the copper over time, you tighten it up, it could crush a little bit and become loose. And if you didn't tighten it up enough, now all of a sudden you're not making a good connection. So that's why you want to use a screwed terminal connector like that. That way it's clamped down and it's tight. And with that, here's the last piece of the puzzle that is now required on water heaters, and this was not required. And that is a GFI breaker to run your electric water heater. So you've got your line 1, your line 2.
My 2 hots and my neutral, my dedicated neutral to the bar.
Right, and then you've got your little push button right there, so if there's any of those milliamps that are trickling through, or the heating element is now allowing electricity to get into the water, this GFI breaker, GFCI breaker will recognize that, and it
That's
will
what Jeff was probably halfway finished typing that into you.
Yeah, I know. I say GFI just to irritate them. So it's
Right.
always good. So make sure if you have an electric water heater that you do use one of these GFI breakers. It's critical.
Yeah, but I back you up. And this is Robbie's question.
Yep.
Those GFCI breakers are not cheap.
No, they're going to be $60-$70. But I don't, I guess
Potentially save your life?
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess how much.
It's been out there in the garage for ages. It's fine.
Yeah. What's the bill from the coroner going to be? It's just,
Well, if it's me on the slab, I won't know and I won't worry. Just saying.
just
But yeah, so they're about $70-$75, whatever. Depends on square D and,
Right.
whoever, G, whatever. But it should be done as part of standard install on a water heater.
That's right.
What
So,
does GFCI stand for?
ground
Ground
fault
fault.
circuit?
Interrupter.
All right.
Dang.
High five me there, sister.
It's just like.
See, she does learn stuff even by accident. Just hear it often enough.
Yep.
Exactly.
We just keep beating it into your skull, and it just,
So to speak.
yeah, and you got it figured out.
And that will trigger on the little milliamps that are on there?
Any difference in potential at all, those will trip, and instantly. So that's why you have them in your bathrooms, in the garage, in your unfinished basements, in your kitchen. Around water, you have GFI breakers, because as soon as it senses that, you can't get shocked from it. It'll turn off faster than you can actually feel the shock.
How is that different than a normal breaker?
Because a normal breaker just lets the power go. It'll just let it flow.
It's not too worried while
No,
you're
it
cooking.
doesn't care about you. The GFCI
No.
cares about you, Fuzzy.
It has something
Okay.
to do with taking
It's
a
the
bath
carrying breaker.
and dropping a hairdryer in the bathtub.
Correct. You can't if you have.
I don't understand how it could.
Well, didn't you ever
happen
do
that
it?
fast.
You've never dropped a hairdryer in the tub?
Rich?
Go home, plug in an
No.
old air dryer into your GFCI outlet, and
No.
just throw it in a tub of water, and
okay.
the power will go off instantly.
There's what we'll
And if-
do. We're gonna do that next week.
No.
We'll do the test next week.
No.
We can do that. We'll have a GFI,
No.
a bucket of
And a
water, and a
non-
drill. And we'll just drop the drill right in the water, and the drill will keep right on going.
Well, how are
And
you
if
going
we
to
do-
test the water to see if it's electrified or not?
We can put a tester in there.
I'm glad you said bucket, because I was like, man, I got to find my swim trunks and everything else.
Go sit in the tub.
Ladies, if you would like to see Fuzzy Robbie in his swim trunks,
No, his wife doesn't even want to see that. Come on.
that would be Ron at mightyhouse.net. Ron at
Absolutely.
mightyhouse.net.
So should we talk about one more thing that nobody does to their water heater?
Clean
Yeah,
it.
as long as we're disassembling it to get a new dip tube and an anode rod in there, we should probably clean all the junk out of the bottom.
Clean the old rod up.
That's it. See,
Exactly.
here's all the leftover rod laying in the bottom here because it's all just falling apart.
Right.
And this is our buddy Bob, and the product that he has there called Maggie Rad, and you can get this at all of
Oh,
your
410
some-
Menard stores.
That's right. There you go. So this, you take it. You take the product. Oh, where is it? I got some right here. Do you have it?
Ooh, I get to use my close-up
Yeah,
camera.
use your close-up camera.
Yes.
There you go.
Ooh, fancy.
Look at that.
Is it a powder?
This is a powder.
Okay.
Yes, it is a powder. And you would, for 40 gallons, you would use 2 of these. So you mix that up. You pour that into the water heater. You get it mixed
How
up.
do you get it in the water heater?
Well, you got to take out one of these right here. You take out your dip tube. You've got a funnel. You can pour it in there. You drain out the old.
In the dip tube side or in the anode rod side?
Yes, anode rod. This is the anode rod. Yeah, not the dip tube. You don't want to take the pipes out. So you can run it through this, or if you don't want to take that out, you can also take the pressure relief valve off if you've got it on the top and run it down in that also.
So there's not a lid.
There's no lid, no.
Okay. So
Okay, because that's something Bob has also mentioned, and people watching this will notice that we've mentioned Bob a number of times.
Yes.
And his last name is from Northbrook.
Yes.
So Bob from Northbrook, he actually writes manuals
Yes.
for water heaters. I
Total
mean, this
geek.
guy, that's him.
Yep.
So it's not some guy's opinion. Well, I guess in a sense it is, but
Yeah.
it's a very well-educated opinion.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So we've learned probably more than we ever wanted to about water heaters. But going back to it, probably the best place to do is take out the anode rod, pull the pressure relief valve, because that should be replaced at the same time.
Yes. Which I don't know. Do we have one over there, Fuzzy? Can you see one on the table? I don't know if I've got a pressure relief valve over there.
Well,
No, I've got just regular valves.
valves.
I think we already used them all up. We had a bunch there, but
So do
we
you
replaced them.
put this in, swish it around, drain it? Do you put
Yep.
it in? Okay. How
Just
often?
swish it around. Just rock that water heater.
So-
If this water heater's never.
No, so you would drain out the water.
First drain out the water.
Turn off your cold water,
Okay.
and then that way you drain the water out.
Then you put that in.
Then you pour that in there,
Okay.
and then you would turn the cold, then close the valve on the bottom, turn it on, and let that cold water go down there, and it'll stir everything up, and it'll help clean it. And if you've
And
never,
then do you let it sit for a half hour or something?
There's actually like 15 steps on the bottle.
Yes.
Which is pretty neat.
Well,
So-
if you knew Bob from Northbrook, you're lucky he got it down to 15.
you need to follow these directions right here. How's that? For exact how to do it.
So one other tip I'll give you, though, is before you turn off your cold water to drain the tank,
Yep.
leave the water on and open up your drain valve. Now you turn off the electric
Yep.
or turn off the gas,
Yep.
but open up that because you need the water pressure sometimes to clean that drain out. If it's got all the crud in it and you open it with no pressure, it could take 2 days to drain your tank.
Yes.
So you want to open up that drain valve and blow it clean, tie your garden hose to it
Yep.
and open that up so that you can clear that drain. And if the drain's flowing well, then go ahead, close it, turn off your water, and then drain the tank.
Right. And you don't necessarily, even if you don't have any of this, you can still drain the system, turn it on, and then flush it. And as that water goes down to the bottom, it will stir a lot of that loose debris up, and then it will come out the drain. What this does then, once you've gotten all the loose stuff, this gets in there and actually breaks that apart and cleans it right back down to the original steel and gets rid of all that. So if you turn on your water heater or you walk by it and you hear it bubbling all the time, or it sounds like it's popping, that's because of all the debris on the bottom of your water heater. And that's just reducing the efficiency. Yes, Robbie?
Maybe this is a completely different subject, but what if you have heat in the walls and you can hear bubbling and stuff in the walls?
That's air. That's air.
That's
in
completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
that is air that's in the system. And
Not coming from the water heater.
no, hopefully not.
Never mind.
Now, if you have a
No, but
boiler,
it's a legit question.
Yeah.
It's
If you
probably
have
from
a-
the boiler. But
yeah. If you have a boiler, the same thing. Your boiler should be cleaned and serviced.
With Maggie Rad?
He has a different product for that. Yes, but yes, there's a product for that also.
If I have a boiler, why do I need a water heater?
Well, it's different.
sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can have one making domestic hot water as well as heating your home.
Yes, they do have those systems. So if you want one boiler, the problem is now you're running this big boiler to heat your house during the summer, so your boiler's still running just to heat water. So you've got a huge burner in there in that boiler system. So that's one of the reasons why having a separate system is a little more efficient. So so now you've got that cleaned out. You've put in a new dip tube if you needed it. You've put in your anode rod, and you reassemble the whole thing.
You basically rebuilt your water heater.
Yes, and now you can have a water heater that everybody goes, oh, it's 7, 8 years old, it needs to be replaced. You can get these, if you do this maintenance, you'll have them lasting 20, 30 years. And the efficiency, especially if it's a high efficiency one, there's no reason to be swapping it out.
Well, all that junk laying on the bottom just acts as insulation to prevent your water from heating.
Right.
So you want to get that out of there to increase the efficiency again. And then what do you think about water heater blankets to save money?
No, you put
Blankets?
it's
Yes.
the
Insulation?
Yes, insulation.
No.
Yeah.
This whole tank is already highly insulated. That blanket.
And the
does
new ones,
squat.
especially, a few years ago, they changed the code on the.
No, they said you're
Department
supposed
of
to
Energy
put
changed the minimum standards. Those blankets they sell to wrap your water heater are an absolute waste of money,
Yes.
and
You
they
can
look
do it.
terrible too.
Yeah, they don't look good. It's not as clean. So it's not necessary to spend your
Hey,
money.
Don, take it off. Take that ugly thing off. I've been telling you. I've been telling you for a long time. Take it off. You know who said so? Ron and Rich. I know you listen to them, not me. Okay, bye.
See,
Sorry.
back to the show.
Back to the show.
All right, there we go. So how we doing there, Fuzzy? We're good?
Yeah.
All right. So with that, I think that covers all of our water heater stuff, doesn't it? Is there anything
It does. So if we left you with more questions than answers, or if you have any questions, just reach out to any one of us. It's Rich at mightyhouse.net,
or Rich
Ron at
mightyhouse.net?
mightyhouse.net, or even Robbie at mightyhouse.net.
Yeah, Robbie's
She
too.
always
Rich
forwards
at-
them to us.
Rich at mightyhouse.net.
Rich at mightyhouse.net. That's really the only email you need to really
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah, well, Rich has to go check that one of these days. He keeps forgetting.
Ouch.
I know, it actually has been about a good week or
Oh,
so.
yeah?
I better
Or 6.
check.
So, do we have time for an email of the week or not?
If you'd like, my first question is how many gallons do you need per person?
Oh, good question. I don't know. We've got 40, 50 gallons is really the most common one that you'll find.
Yeah, how many different
Yeah.
sizes are there?
Oh, there's plenty.
From
Really?
30 to 80.
Yeah,
And I mean, and then you go into real commercial.
right. Right. And 100 gallon, but in a home, 40 is probably the average. 40 to 50 would be a really common one that you would find. And that's generally more than enough.
How dirty are you, Fuzzy?
Depends on whether or not you have a Whirlpool tub or not. Because some of those Whirlpool tubs will hold 60 gallons and
Right.
40 won't fill it up.
Well, I'm one of those
Right.
lucky apartment dwellers that has a boiler in our basement, so I have unlimited hot water.
Wherever
There you go.
want it. That's good. So there you go. So depending on the size of your home, you may need more than one, but in most cases a 40 or a 50 is going to be plenty for anybody
Yeah.
that's doing it.
Well, I mean, the houses we build are typically master suite on one end of the house,
Uh-huh.
secondary bedrooms on the other end. And the kitchen's usually outside by the master or whatever. But we end up putting a water heater on each end of the house, loop the cold water for pressure balancing,
Right?
and then each side has its own hot water loop. And then that way you're reducing the amount of activity. And if only the master, only the owners are in, the other water heater just sits there idling.
Right. And you're not heating 80 gallons of water constantly.
Well, and it
Correct.
sounds like you're not wasting that cold water run either. You're
Right.
not wasting the gallon or so for that.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly it. So there you go. From last week, you want to hit the email?
Yeah.
We'll do an email real quick. You want to read this, Robbie? Mm-hmm. We got. There you go.
Email. We get email. We get your email every day. Every day. Rich at mightyhouse.net.
Every other day.
Chunk it.
Let's see.
What is the best way to heat a 2-car garage used for a wood workshop and mechanics?
That's from last week's show, Rich.
Yes, we talked about heating.
Yes, we were talking about all different kinds of heat. Of the HVAC, we were talking the H part.
Yes.
Heating,
Yes.
ventriculation, air conditioning,
Yeah, very close.
vents.
Yeah, venting. So, what would be your guess there, Rich? What would you,
Ventriculation.
I don't
Well, no, I mean, the way you responded on that email, I think was
Two-car
accurate. I
garage.
mean, you can do gas forced air.
yep.
You can do electric forced air. You
Space
can do
heater.
baseboard radiant. You can do a hot dog hung from the ceiling.
Yep.
But the clue here is that they do woodworking.
Yes, and that was
And-
that and automotive repairs because you're in a garage, so you got to be careful of what you're going to use there.
Yeah. So all of those things where you could have fumes and or like I know a couple people that burn their garages down from crafts with pine.
Yep.
Pine's high resin, starts on fire very easy, so that sawdust gets everywhere and starts on fire. So, the gas forced air and all that is not bad if you have a good system with an enclosed heat exchanger.
Right. Yeah. if
But
it's
ultimately,
sealed.
the best heat would be hot water heat in the floor.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have your garage floor in yet, run the tubing, pour the concrete, and then you're ready to go. Obviously, you need an insulation board down first, and to go back and watch last week's show on heating. So we explain how to run all that tubing and to get that all set properly.
Yeah.
But
So
by
my
far, that's
garage
the
up
best
there
way.
when I lived in Old Forest, I put in an old cast iron heat exchanger international furnace that was probably 40 years old when I installed it, but it was like brand new. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it won't die.
Yeah.
But downdraft on top of it. So I put all the ductwork underneath the workbench.
Oh, so it blew out right on your feet.
Blew out onto the floor, but it does the same thing. Once that concrete gets warm, that thing works so little. So
Yep.
there's a couple different things that you could do, but they make those hot dogs and all the other, ceiling mounts.
Yep. Those
They're
basic
okay.
ones, and those are going to be okay. Use a sealed combustion unit for sure. So that way it's bringing in outside air to the burner, and you're not bringing air from the garage. If you've got sawdust in the air or fumes from
Right.
gasoline, you don't want to be sucking the air from the garage into the burner to heat the garage. You want to be bringing outside air into the burner and then venting that back out.
That is
So,
correct.
Yeah, that's the safest way to do that.
Why don't you get those 6-foot fans like we all had in wood shop,
Yeah.
right? Why don't you just get those to blow
big ass
everything
fan?
out? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
Blow it outside.
Exactly. Did you have an email or another question there, Robbie?
Bob. But,
Oh, Bob.
yeah, Bob.
Bob. Is he
Bob
ripping us a new one?
Northbrook.
Or it's just too long of a book. You can't read it all, probably.
It's not too long of a book, but I think we should save it for another time.
Okay.
All right. We'll
That's not good.
we'll put that up somewhere else. If you'd like a free copy of Bob's
Email.
assessment of our program tonight,
It looks like we have a guest for next week.
Oh, but you see, the problem is we need about 3 hours for him to just destruct what we just did tonight. So
yes,
it would be way too long for Bob to do that.
that's right. All right.
But we love
Let's
Bob.
wrap it up.
Make sure we love Bob.
Yes.
So, you know what? Again, you can always join us here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or Periscope Live. And it's brought to you in part by Mr. Floor. And whenever you're watching, make sure you click on that like button, subscribe button, hit the little bells and the whistles and everything else so that way you'll get notified when we hit the air.
And if you want to get our newsletter, make sure you go to mightyhouse.net. All I need is your first, last name, your email address. Scroll on down and click on Boom Done.
Yep. And if you
And
miss,
you'll get that every Friday, which has links to past shows, this show,
yeah, and you can go.
some of the emails, maybe half of Bob's.
And podcasts and previous shows available at mightyhouse.net, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and on HomeImprovementUSA.com. You can find links to all of them at mightyhouse.net. And this show now gets posted on our homepage at mightyhouse.net. So you can always just go there and watch the previous week's show. Take care of that. That'll get posted sometime tomorrow, whenever we get some time. You okay, Robbie?
Yes, sir.
You good?
Yes.
When are we going to have a Robbie's World?
I can't wait. I have to talk to Denny about, timing and schedule and how many people we can have at this desk.
Oh, God.
It's
4 or
going to
5, I think. Yeah.
be. You think so?
4 or 5, I think we could do
Because
that.
I'm going to get some real picky eaters for my first one.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm going to start doing things, never mind. We'll talk later.
Let's talk later. For Fuzzy
Talk later.
Robbie,
Regular Robbie.
Rich Cowgill, Robbie Earhart, and the entire Mighty House team, I'm Ron Cowgill. Keep it square and level.
Until
Until next time.
Saturday.
Not Saturday, Wednesday, or next time. Hey, we're talking home automation
time.
next week, too. We're going to do home automation stuff.
There you go.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.